Hello.
Good to see you again, Joyce. We've seen each other many times.
Yep.
IPR. It's time for me to review my membership. I only
If you donate enough,
yeah, that's right.
If you need to stick an end of it underneath my bag, go ahead.
Well, thanks for being here.
yeah, I'm happy to be here. This is obviously
And I am going to renew my membership. But even for $50 a year, I get to that much.
No, I mean, the thing is, it's just like, I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm doing criminal justice, the environment, education. Everyone says their company doesn't give enough coverage, and everyone's right. But we have finite resources. It's not that I disagree with you. I don't. Yeah, grab a guy.
Well, maybe this is my kind of excursion.
Yeah, it's
Take
like
most
another
people.
police shooting, and they train you on education.
Yeah.
Explaining to people who are streets
Or until you clone yourself. Clone yourself.
Yeah.
Well, at least you know there's sound coming out of that thing. your bag's blown away. Your bag that had some of your signs in it. I think someone caught it.
Sorry, we've just moved. It's a photo op thing, man. Sorry, Kevin.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I think it'll look better.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, don't have to have the sun in your face. Don't want that.
Matt, you ready, sir?
Yeah, let's go.
Welcome everybody. We're here to tell IUB that once again, Iowans are not just laying down. We're here to stand up for our water, our land, and our legacy as a state that cares about our future generations. We're here to deliver a letter to the IUB, and we're here to hear some people speak up about why we're here, and we're going to start with Jonas Magrum.
Good morning. We're here for two reasons, really, today. The first is to celebrate a great and wise and responsible decision yesterday by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The Army Corps demonstrated yesterday what responsible government looks like.
That's right.
It means not only have they denied this necessary permit that would have allowed them to complete the pipeline and forever endanger the Wahi Lake that so many Native American peoples depend on for safe, healthy, clean water. But they've also announced that in reviewing any possible reroute of the application, that they will now require an environmental impact statement. This is a great victory, and we salute and thank all of the thousands of Native Americans and their supporters that have braved very dangerous conditions that include law enforcement. Unfortunately, we here in Iowa have not yet, and I like to use the word yet, we have not yet been blessed with this kind of responsible government.
Not yet.
From the very beginning, the Iowa Utilities Board ignored the health and safety of Iowans in making its decision.
That's right.
They ignored the rights of landowners and stripped them of those rights for the profit of a out-of-state corporation that provides virtually no benefit to the people of Iowa. Now that that permit was issued, we find months later that Dakota Access routinely violated the conditions that the Iowa Utilities Board stipulated in its permit.
That's right.
And the IUB failed at every turn to enforce those stipulations and to respond to innumerable complaints of the public that just fell on deaf ears.
Ain't right.
We are here today to both, as I said, to celebrate yesterday's decision, but to use that as impetus to demand again that the Iowa Utilities Board act not for the profit of corporations, but for the health and safety of our children, our families here in Iowa today and for future generations. It's up to us to keep up the fight. Yesterday's decision could have some very serious economic consequences for Dakota Access. But we must not give up, because that black snake as it is described by our native brothers and sisters. That black snake could just be winding around the corner, ready to pollute Iowa's water and soil and threaten the climate of our planet for generations to come. So, are we going to remain committed to fighting this pipeline here in Iowa? Are we going to remain committed to make sure that not one single drop of fracked crude oil flows through the Bakken pipeline? Are we ready to respectfully but firmly bring our demands to the Iowa Utilities Board? Very good, already did it. So, Carrie?
Thank you, Jonas. So my name's Carrie Kearney. I'm the Executive Director of 1000 Friends of Iowa, and we're a member of the Bakken Pipeline Resistance Coalition, a coalition that's been fighting this pipeline for over 2 years, and we're not about to stop now. Yes, we have every reason to celebrate based on the decision that was made yesterday. But we've already heard from our brothers and sisters at Standing Rock that Dakota Access continues to try to construct the pipeline despite the Army Corps' decision. For far too long, Big Oil has acted like they are God, and our elected officials and our government agencies have kowtowed to them and let them do whatever they want. This decision by the Army Corps, though it's a good decision, it really brought into stark focus that our government agencies failed each and every one of us throughout this entire process.
That's right.
And Army Corps was not the only one to fail.
Right.
The Iowa Utility Board is just as guilty as the Army Corps of Engineers. They have rammed this pipeline down the throats of Iowans for 2 years. They failed in their responsibility. Their responsibility was to Iowans, not to Big Oil. Their responsibility was to prove beyond any doubt that there was actually a public benefit to Iowans. They failed. Their responsibility was to protect our soil and our water. Yeah. And they failed. Their responsibility was to enforce the permit that they drafted. And boy, they failed miserably on that. And despite destruction to miles and miles and miles of beautiful farmland and natural resources across Iowa and the other states along the route, it's not too late for them to do the right thing.
That's right.
So today, we're going up to meet with Don Tormey. He's waiting for us upstairs, one of the attorneys for the Iowa Utility Board. We're going to give him a chance. We're going to deliver a letter. We're going to let them know that they can make this right by immediately revoking the permit and telling Dakota Access they're no longer welcomed in Iowa. So, if you will please, I'd sure appreciate it if you'd follow us upstairs.
All right.
inside. Although he could take it in through the Jeep box. Yeah. See what happens when we get inside. Sorry? We're now inside the Iowa Utilities Board building. Oops, sorry. Oops, sorry.
Sure, sir. Go ahead.
It's a beautiful bunch of Iowans right there. Thank you for meeting with us. We're here as part of the Bakken Pipeline Resistance Coalition. You probably recognize the shirt. I'm going to read the letter. Dear Iowa Utilities Board staff and commissioners, on behalf of the Bakken Pipeline Resistance Coalition, we respectfully ask you to revoke the permit for the Dakota Access Bakken crude oil pipeline. As you know, yesterday the Army Corps of Engineers denied the 408 permit granting the easement for Dakota Access to put the pipeline under Lake Oahe and the Missouri River. The Corps is calling on the company to conduct a full environmental impact statement, something that should have been done prior to any permits being granted or construction beginning. In light of this action by the Army Corps of Engineers, it is likely that the pipeline process will be delayed for many months and potentially rerouted or denied altogether. Construction on the pipeline should never have been allowed to begin anywhere, until all permits were granted. They took a risk. In March, when the Iowa Utilities Board granted the permit to Dakota Access, which stipulated numerous requirements that Dakota Access must meet prior to construction. Among those requirements were that construction could not begin until all the permits were approved and all requirements were met. In June, the IUB broke your own rules and allowed the company to proceed with construction without having met any of the requirements. Dakota Access had none of the Iowa permits and was still missing several other permits along the route in other states. The IUB granted the use of eminent domain without providing any real public benefit for the people of Iowa and without any of the requirements met that you stipulated. The actions by the Iowa Utilities Board were both irresponsible and unconscionable. Your duty is to the people of Iowa, not to out-of-state corporations. Your duty was to determine a clear and irrefutable benefit to the people of Iowa. You failed to do that. Your duty was to protect the interests of Iowans. You failed to do that. Your duty was to enforce your own rules and regulations. You failed to do that. Your actions have resulted in the destruction of miles and miles of Iowa's precious farmland and natural areas, and unimaginable threats to our water and soil. The pipeline construction crew, mostly from out of state, has failed to meet the basic guidelines laid out in the permit and have caused potentially irreparable damage to some of the best farmland in the world. Farmland that belonged to Iowa families, not big oil. And you have failed to step stop them from doing damage, and you have failed to hold them accountable. This is a failed project. The Iowa Utilities Board must now do the responsible thing and stand with Iowans. We are calling on you to revoke the permit and require Dakota Access to stop any and all remaining construction in Iowa. In addition, Dakota Access should be made to pay reparations to landowners and Iowans to cover the cost of damage that they caused. Sincerely, the Bakken Pipeline Resistance Coalition. Thank you for taking this letter.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything in response, sir?
No, we'll accept your letter, and if you have any specific questions, we can either address what your points are in the letter, or we can address your questions. Do you have any other questions you'd like to give us?
Just one. When will you revoke the permit?
We'll write that down and get you a response by close of business today.
Thank you.
Sir.
Does the decision, yesterday's decision, change anything for you?
Excuse me?
Does yesterday's decision change anything for you?
If that's one of your questions, we'll write it down and get your response by the end of today.
Could you send that response to the media as well?
You bet. If you give me your contact information, I'd be happy to send it to you.
Yeah.
You bet.
Was there an environmental impact done for Iowan farmers?
I can't address that right now. I don't know. But we'll be happy to address that as well. I don't believe it was required in Iowa for this proceeding, but I will check into that and let you know.
Perhaps you should write these questions down.
I have Lewis writing them down.
I have a question. A lot of the hearings that in advance of the permit being granted, there's a lot of testimony about jobs for Iowans. Has the IUB compelled Dakota Access in any way to provide information about the number of Iowa jobs that were indeed provided? Because that was one of the big selling points.
Again, we'll take your questions and address them each individually.
Thank you.
You bet.
There have been a lot of problems with construction under the Des Moines River in Boone County. It took them well over a month than what they anticipated, and they changed companies recently. What were the problems, and what are the details on that construction? Over 500,000 people depend on that drinking water. What were the problems with construction under the Des Moines River?
Okay, we'll add that to the list.
And kind of an add-on to that, I understand that there were 3 drillings under the river. And so, if that's the case, what happened to where the first drillings were, where there's not going to be pipe in it? Is that going to, what kind of structural damage has that done to the riverbed? And will that affect the flow of the river or debris going into the river? Or what kind of damage will that do on the long run?
Okay. If you could just speak slowly so Lewis can copy these down, that'd be great.
And just a note to those questions about the drilling under the Des Moines River. Actual details will be provided rather than referring us to the county inspector, Evan Duvall, because I spoke with him last week and he couldn't give me any details. And he, in fact, told me to come back to you or go to the DNR.
Any details we would have, we would provide them to you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
And then I'll add just one more question.
Sure.
The drillings. If they were going to allow eminent domain to be used, why didn't it seem reasonable to get an environmental impact statement done for those that did not want it? What was the decision? It said that that was
And if, by some chance, this does continue long term, when the pipeline is no longer needed, is there a plan in place, and who pays for taking it back out or any harm to the land? Is there any plan if it breaks, or once it's no longer usable, how is it going to be taken care of rather than being an environmental problem and Iowan tax dollars may be having to fix it?
When do we get the answers?
As soon as we can get them to you, but by the close of business today, which is 4:30.
And if
I mean, we'll have to look into each one and get you the most up-to-date information we have.
And if the answers are vague, when do we get a meeting with you to go over those answers?
We'll put that on the list. But the permit is currently in litigation, so the board would not have any comment on the actual permit.
So then should they stop construction since it's pending?
What's that?
Should they stop any construction since it's pending, since there's litigation, if we don't know the outcome of that?
We'll add that to the list of questions.
If you can't answer our questions, they shouldn't be constructing.
Like I said, we'll give you the most up-to-date information we have today. Yes?
Can you tell me what it means to say that there is some litigation that you all are dealing with so that every discussion about permits that is your job having to do with this pipeline, now 2 months after the litigation was engaged, you cannot tell us anything? Isn't your job bigger than the litigation you're following? And aren't we asking questions that are bigger and different than this legal argument you're trying to tell us you can't tell us nothing about? Did you ask them about that?
We're going to address each one of your questions and provide you answers to those today.
One other question. What are the specific steps that the IUB is going to take to ensure the damage to the land is mitigated and that landowners are adequately compensated for the damage they've experienced on their property?
Thank you.
And also have the, I don't know if I exactly know how to ask this, but my understanding is that there's supposed to be some kind of guarantee from the parent companies of Dakota Access, Energy Transfer Partners, and some of the other ones, that they guarantee so much money for a cleanup if there is a leak. And my understanding is that some of those parent companies have not agreed to that, and so why is that not stopping the project? And also, if there isn't money from those companies to do the cleanup, is that going to fall on Iowa taxpayers?
One other question is, how does the IUB justify violating their own order back in March without following the proper procedures that they were required by law to do?
And will you, when you give us these answers in writing, correct?
In writing.
That you are going to write down the question exactly as we asked it. And then, well, exactly as you asked it, and then after that, answer the question. And then go on to the next question. Will you do it that way?
Yeah, that's the intention.
Yeah.
That's the intention, and if you want, you can provide Matt with your questions so he can write them down and send them to me so that we make sure that there's no misunderstanding so that they compare with Lewis's notes. I think that would be fair.
When are you going to stop the pipeline?
I will say in Don's defense, I have been in touch with him back for him a couple of emails. He has done a good job of doing that, responding to each question as I listed them. So, thank you, Don.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Will this be published in the newspaper or anything like that so everyone can read it?
I don't control the press. There are some members of the press here, and you're welcome to talk to them.
You could contact the Des Moines Register yourself. You could contact possibly the Des Moines Register, call them and say, hey, this is public information.
I believe the Register may know you're here today. I'm not sure.
Oh, great. You're going to be busy today, Don.
I've been busy a lot.
What is
That's
your
okay.
opinion of what happened yesterday?
I'm happy to help Iowans with information.
In the event of any oil leaking into water tables, private wells, or city water infrastructure, will the pipeline company be required to cover the cost of remediation as we're requiring counties west of, as we're asking counties west of us to do with regards to their hog farm and agricultural operations?
Thank you. Anyone else with a question for Lewis that we can write down?
If I've understood correctly, they are not going to be inspecting their pipeline. It will be the farmers to report if there's any leakage or damage. Is that correct?
Again, we'll take the question and reply to it.
Who does know the answers to these questions?
Well, you're asking how many questions now?
Well, no, but who is that person? Can we
There's
get them
multiple
down here?
questions that are going to take time to look into and give you an accurate, up-to-date response. And up-to-date means as we know of today. Anyone else?
My understanding is that what she said, that they have some kind of alarm or some kind of system that is supposed to let them know when the pressure of the pipeline goes down. But I was listening to someone who had worked for a pipeline company recently who said that if it's a really small percentage that goes down, that doesn't go off, but there's still leakage. And so what happens in those situations? And how are and would it be the farmer that would be reporting those, that he would have to go out and check to see if there was a minor leak?
And please, nothing that's being asked about eventualities that could take place once the pipeline were to be completed should not be construed in any way to mean that we are prepared to allow this pipeline to be completed and in operation.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
When you get the answers to these questions, could you share it with the Iowa Utilities Board? Please. I'm not sure they know it.
Or do they care?
A lot of the questions you are asking, some of that information may be available in the documents that are filed in this docket, so we'll have to go back and just look at each question individually and address it and give you the most accurate response as of today.
Have you gotten any applications for any other out-of-state corporations to come in and put pipelines?
Not that I know of, no.
And again, I think before we leave, we want to definitely reiterate that we are calling on the IUB to do the right thing. We feel that despite having this process be a failed process all along, that it's not too late for the IUB to actually do something in the interest of Iowans and do the right thing. So we are calling on the IUB to deny, to revoke the permit, and tell Dakota Access they can no longer construct in Iowa.
Or operate.
Right.
No oil goes through that pipeline.
Right.
Thank you guys.
John, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, they have a little bit of work ahead. Hey, Kaylin. Hello.
Very good.
Yes, how have you been?
Good.
You're still army as ever. Hello. You getting something?
Me? You asked if I was getting sunburned?
Travis, would you take a picture of I was telling you about my granddaughter and her education? This is cool. This is Travis, and he started getting the reports with Jess
Well, the questions have been posed, and we'll have to wait till later this afternoon for the answers. What form those answers will take, we don't know.
These are 72B and none of the above.
Yeah. Back outside. Check out the Q&A there. Dummer has decided to give us a beat.
Don't want.
tear it out. Is everybody back out here yet?
That's really one of the first times they've actually talked to us like that. But I don't actually anticipate great answers to our questions. But we're not done now.
Nope.
There's a lot of other action happening throughout this week and into next week. And I know there's people here who talk about some actions that are happening from various people. There's something on the 7th here. Jessica is passing out some flyers and Frank were passing out flyers. On Thursday, December 15th, that's the first day of the litigation. That's when the oral arguments happen. We will be meeting at 8 a.m. at the Polk County Courthouse on that day. We'll do a little rally and press conference, and then we're all going to go in and show support for the landowners and for Sierra Club, who is bringing suit against the IUB for failed process and to protect our environment and the rivers, waters, etc. So who thinks they can be there on the 15th?
Like about everybody here.
Yeah, we need to have a good turnout there. We need to show the courts that we are not going away and that we expect the courts to do the right thing where the IUB has failed us. Right?
Yeah, people over pipeline.
I believe the rally is outside in front of the courthouse right at 8 a.m. At Polk County Courthouse, and that's just a little bit that way. Fish and Walnut.
What was the person's name that answered the question?
The person whose name that answered the question is Don Formey. He's the lead legal staff. He's one of the lead attorney for the Iowa Utility Board. He's the one who actually advised the utility board to break their own rule and told them it was okay. If anybody was at the June meeting and remembers that, he's the guy who said, yeah, you can do it, even though legally they were not supposed to do it without starting. What's that? Does this group have an attorney? Well, we have Wally Taylor from Sierra Club, who's been acting as the attorney for the coalition. He is the guy that's going to be doing oral arguments at the court hearing on the 15th. Anybody else have anything they want to say, share, do? I believe that between the coalition, Iowa CCI, 1,000 Friends, and other coalition members, that we will email it out to our list and we'll post it on the coalition Facebook page. So it's the Back and Pipeline Resistance Facebook page, but CCI, 1,000 Friends, and others will also email it out. Fifth and Mulberry is the courthouse. Thank you.
The south side of the building.
South side of the building. All right. The event tomorrow morning in Boone has been postponed, so don't go to that. That was Chris Wells. That got postponed.
Just a shout out for the Wednesday thing. It's a direct action. It's all going to take place inside the lobby. And while you're inside the lobby, that's not an arrestable offense. So you can be with this group and not necessarily get arrested, but it doesn't mean you won't get arrested. And we're going to do nonviolent training at 9 o'clock at the Catholic Worker But if you can't risk arrest, don't feel like you need to show up. Just show up and use the support. Thank you.
Right, so when you go into the courthouse, they will do kind of like a scan on you. You need to be careful about what you have on you. No knives, no guns, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
Sure,
Not that any of us have.
make sure you're careful about what you have with you.
I've got two little water
So on behalf of all of you, the Bottom Pipeline Assistance Coalition that we're all part of, I want to thank every single one of you for coming out today, for everything you've given to this fight for the last 2 years, every letter you've written, every sign you've held, every rally you've attended. We're very, very grateful, and every single one of us has made a difference. So let's celebrate, recommit ourselves to continue the fight, and continue to stand together to support one another in this critical battle for the well-being of our state. Thank you.
Hey, one more thing, and Brenda, I don't know if you want to say something about that, but there's been a lot of postcard blitzes going on. Keep them going. So make sure that you're sending out the postcards to Obama, telling him to stop the pipeline. Make sure if you get credit card offers in the mail, that you take out the return envelope, write a little note on a postcard that says, divest from DAPL or we'll divest from you. Put it back in the envelope and send it back. Brenda, do you have others you want to?
I have some postcards with me.
All right, so if you want to do a postcard right now, come on over here, and then Tom had an announcement real
What
quick.
does yesterday's decision mean for Iowa?
If anybody wants to get one of these really cool standing rock tattoos,
construction here in Iowa. Obviously, it was a huge victory at Standing Rock in North Dakota.
All right, thank you guys very much. We will see you later this week at other events, and definitely on the 15th, come do a postcard.
Needs to hold
We've got a few t-shirts.
Yeah, there's some teachers left. Brenda has.
Violations here in Iowa by Dakota Access, and that is literally a violation of their permit.
You say you're
So
doing
we're
this?
calling on the Iowa Utilities Board to revoke Dakota Access.
Yeah, we'll go by.
We need to follow the Army Corps and take similar action to protect the people of Iowa.
And what else is happening in Iowa?
I still wish I could go
So
over
there are a number of things happening next week.
No, they still have no
December 15th is the first oral argument.
Yeah, but there's no room in it.
Yeah,
but I dropped off a box last week. And one of the things I put a note on it said there's a cell phone battery that plus it had a tarp and some other goodies in there. Which jet's Missouri?
I've got a banner that I want to.
Well,
Hey, Matt. I got that
Fuel drum tops. What's the link for that
Grassley.
I call her.
And well, I was over.
As a veteran,
I was with some LTV members about a week and a half ago, and they were doing letters. So I just questions to ask, and so I put in each one. What are you going to do?
As far as the postcards go, you can fill them out today, and then I can address them. But if you go to Facebook, are you on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay. So type in hashtag no DAPL postcard lids. And then you go in there and then if you go to the one that's mostly black with white printing, that's what we call emergency postcard after all the water cannon, and it has, if you click on there, it'll have all the addresses. And if you have a question, you can send me something according to our Gmail account.
And you're sending these to the president and senators
and
the postcards. Can I have? Thank you.
Are you bothered sending them to Trump or not really?
We put it on last night.
Okay.
I think you should.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I haven't got the addresses on it. That's why. Addressed here, and some that are blank. Okay. But they're the right size. That's the good part. Just take the postcards down. If you have any questions about it, I'm the one that monitors our Gmail account, Block and Pipeline Resistance Gmail account, that you can access by going to the nobakken.com. And it'll have the address on there for the Gmail account. So if you have any questions, I'll answer you there.
Okay.
You know, because you'll get home and you go, I don't know.
Okay, Bakken.com. Oh, all right.
But don't trip over your own stuff.
Okay, and you need postcards?
I actually got some. I just need it for size. I can.
It is, if you just go to USPS, but it's basically, it has to be less than 4 1/4 inches by 6. 4 1/4 inches by 6. Your video.
Water is coffee. Protect it.
I don't have a pen. Nice to meet you,
I do not have a card, but I can.
Do you have a pen? We have a pen. I got so excited. I got right now. Oh, sorry. But at least I got a pen. I'll have you write on the back of there.
I have a bunch of them. I handed them out at our annual meeting, and I printed this off and had everybody do it at our annual meeting.
Is that what I have here? Or do you
No,
have
she has.
Yeah, this is just the addresses of the.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
And then on the other side is. There's like the rally and the picnic and stuff.
All right. Super. Thank you so much.
Did you want the list of addresses for the?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Why is it?
Anyway,
yeah.
I know, me too.
But the one that he just, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I was just
I do too. Thank you.
So there is.
Well, it's also.
Then I put my videos up on YouTube.
The last hurrah.
Even though I would have to say, I think some of us are still.
It's occupied
I think
gas
that
tent.
the decision
I was,
yesterday.
occupied. So,
Right.
yep, that's okay. I had to do that.
Yeah.
But